Hello and welcome to the latest in our residential market updates. Today I've got with me Tim Leonard, Lizzie Tate and Harriet Naish Bain, who run our agency branches throughout the north of England. Tim, if I can start with you, what is happening in your particular market in Barnard Castle?
We're seeing quite a lot of activity at the moment, actually. We've agreed a number of sales in the last couple of weeks, which has increased, week on week. I think the thing that we've got in Barney, which might be unlike the other areas, is we actually have a shortage of stock.
When you've got more people wanting to buy, more demand than there is supply, your market keeps moving forward.
Yeah, it's activity.
And Harriet, I think you've got something similar in Boroughbridge, haven't you, where the quality of stock is good, some good new stuff coming on, not just through us, but in the marketplace, and there does seem to be really good buyer interest.
There is. I mean, we've certainly seen a change over the last 4 months from the beginning of the year, where suddenly there was an influx of new applicants. The quality of them is very good. They have a desire to buy. It's just getting the right stock. And we're finding that when properties come on the market, our sweet spot tends to be 500 to 800,000. The properties are coming on the market and sales are being agreed. And we've got an average of 46 days from listing to sale agreed at the moment with stuff coming on, showing there's a massive shortage in the market.
Yeah, no, really interesting. And in Richmond area, I think things are slightly different, are they, Lizzie, or have I got that wrong?
Yeah, no, I would say that they are. We've got quite a healthy number of properties on the market, so we've got really good stock levels. The stats that I've looked at has just shown that actually applicants being registered is down by 25%, which to me shows that whilst we've got plenty there to sell, we maybe don't have quite the same number of buyers out there at this moment in time. Generally speaking, though, Yorkshire Dales and that area in particular, it is always a bit more of a stalled start. So hopefully in the weeks to come, we'll start to see more applicants coming through and more people wanting to view and getting properties sold.
Yeah, looking at it from a slight distance, it seems that the buyers who are in the market are much more proceedable than they were, and that having gone through the ravages of COVID in the property market, where unless you were proceedable, there was no chance in getting an opportunity to offer for something, buyers are now accepting they need to be a little bit further on in the process before they become active. Yeah. And I think you're experiencing more of that, particularly in the Dales, in the traditional holiday spot areas of our region. And as far as we're concerned in the agricultural side of things, the smaller farms, there's a definite sweet spot. We've got properties that have got something like 15 to 50 acres, a nice house, few buildings. We can't get enough of them. There are definitely buyers there. And you're looking at values up to £2 million, something like that, which does seem to bridge the barrier of concern with inheritance tax changes as well. So it's quite interesting where the interest is coming from and where people are focusing their attention.
Very similar. Anything with land at the moment, we've got a real shortage of. It's the one that I mentioned earlier about the best and finals. It's just a small little cottage with 10 acres, and I think we booked 20 viewings in the first weekend. And that's why it's going to best and final bids. I think if there was anything out there that's got a bit of land with it for a pony or something like that, it would get a lot of interest.
Yeah, and I don't know why it seems to be more active than it ever has been.
Yeah, absolutely. I think last year there was a complete lull in that part of the market. Confidence levels were lower. And what I found is, again, the properties with land, with some stabling, are just like, they're a bit like hen's teeth, but when they come on the market, they're absolutely flying and the interest is there immediately. And again, like one of yours, we ended up at best and final within 2 weeks of launching a property.
I sometimes think as well that with properties with land, the people are less focused on honing in on the exact location. Whereas if it's a really nice house, someone will look at it and say, oh, well, I have to be in that particular village. Whereas when it's got land, the spread of where they will look tends to be further afield.
Yeah, they'll make compromises that way to neither location or what the property offers. They might not need that second bathroom, or they might say that they, are happy to have an eating kitchen rather than having a separate dining room. Yeah,
and non-specific, a lot of them are just registering saying North Yorkshire equestrian property and X amount of acres. And then if you're ticking majority of those boxes, they're going for them and they're getting the interest.
And There have been a few changes over the last month or so, and we've had some good news today on the economy. There is some scepticism about whether the next quarter will be as good when the tariffs come in and the national insurance costs come across employers. But it's definitely good news, and we've also seen the fourth interest rate drop. How has that impacted the market, or has it not come through yet?
I don't feel like it's coming through just yet. I think we're going to have to wait a little bit longer. I think people need to see a little bit more evidence of an improving economy. I think it's nice to see, and I think there is confidence building, but I think realistically, I think we need another couple of quarter of a point before it really does kickstart in the way that we'd like to see.
Yeah, and I think the coming weeks as well, because naturally the properties that we tend to sell, they'll be further up the chain than the ones. So if, the first time buyers start to get a little bit more confident with the interest drop, then we'll see, them starting to be buying more property, and then it'll filter up the chain. So I think there'll be a slight delay for us, but hopefully it'll start to come through.
I think you're right there. It's a certain demographic that we tend to be dealing with. So your first time, second time buyers, that's where it'll affect them. And then coming into our neck of the woods, as it were, the market that we have.
Yeah, very much so. I think very much we've got to sort of think about the buyers that we've got. And a lot of the buyers that we have got, actually, interest rates aren't a big thing for them. A lot of them are putting that cash on the table. And it's down the chain that the interest rates are coming to the effect.
And there was no doubt that certainly over the last quarter, the length of chains had extended. And I think there was a lot of frustration in the market from what I could see that, once you thought you'd agreed a sale, it was taking not just the 12 to 14 weeks because of relatively slow conveyancing and slow in getting searches back, but actually the chains were holding everything up, and you're looking at 6, 7, 8 months before actually these deals completed, and that must have been very frustrating.
I read an article the other day that's basically said that April was an appalling month. But then last week, I read an article from Chris Watkin, who's quite well known in this industry, and he was saying that about the first week in May, there was more sales agreed in that week and the last record high was May 2022.
I don't know if you've noticed that the number of overseas inquiries as well has certainly changed. I've literally just come from a viewing of another equestrian property, and the gentleman's flown over from Boston, has a list of properties around North Yorkshire, non-area specific, but certainly the changes over there have made a big difference as to their views as to where they want to retire.
I know, that is a fascinating one. The international market has always been something that we've been able to dabble in here. It's a very popular part of the world, but changes across the world are putting the UK, I think, further up the list of possibilities. Yeah. Despite the problems that we think we're having at home, it's nothing compared to what those in the States. We're getting a lot of interest from Canada and some of the bigger estates and farms. Scandinavia has always been interesting, and they are now refocusing again. So I agree with you. I think that international marketplace is going to be really quite interesting for us in the next 6 or 7 months.
I think it's a good safe haven.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. Any other specific things that you're worried about, or that we can advise our potential clients to look out for in the coming months?
I think what they've, and I think I said this last time we had a conversation, is that what we read in the press necessarily isn't what's going on the ground. I think it's hugely important to speak to the people doing it on a daily basis.
Yeah,
get in contact with us. Ask those questions, get us out, and we'll tell you. People don't read the positive side; they only ever read negative, and they need to see or hear what's going on the ground. And I think that's hugely important. So, get in contact with us, ask us what's going on. Do we think it's the right time to sell? We will tell you the truth, and we will be honest. But get in contact.
I think our industry and our firms, our firm alone shows the difference. All three of us, even though we're all in North Yorkshire, bordering to County Durham, we're very close, but we've experienced quite different markets over the last few months. And, it just goes to show that those small pockets, even though we're all relatively close by, they can vary slightly in where's busier at different times throughout the year. And it's quite interesting, really, I think. So it's definitely worth, going for the individual that's an expert in your exact location of where you are. And I think that's something to feed back to potential buyers and sellers.
Definitely. The advice I'd be giving is probably completely different to the advice that you're giving at the moment, Tim.
I think activity really has, and it cycles. Activity has really picked up since the Easter weekend. We see this all the time. A bit of good weather, change in environment, holidays are all cleared off, everybody gets back into the market, and we saw that again and are seeing that now. And we will see that continue, in my view, right through till, the kids go on holiday in the summer. And then it quietens off, and then it picks up again in September.
Well, North Yorkshire is a pretty beautiful place at the best of times, but looking out the window here, and we can't have, since I've been in this part of the world, we've not experienced a better start to the summer than this, in terms of when everything is looking stunning. And I think when people see our new properties coming on the market, whatever medium it is we use to show it, I think people are going to say, even if I didn't want to move, I'm going to go and have a look at that. So I think you could be in for a busy time.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Well, thank you. I think that probably summarises where we've got to for the last couple of months in the market. It is positive out there. I think we could all do with a bit more movement, a bit more buyer commitment. But generally, we've got some great properties out there. We've got some active and proceedable buyers. And I think with interest rates going in the right direction, with the economy appearing to go in the right direction, things are looking good for the property market in our part of the world. Thank you for listening. Thank you.